Hey everyone, so that was a season 10 premiere, a really great premiere episode, the perfect return to the season, lots of setup for the big stories ahead. The first half is going to jumpstart this tension really fast, I think. We saw a lot of what this meeting here between Michonne and Alpha is about in tonight's episode. People have broken some rules. Where does that go this season? That's what this first half is going to explore. As we get through this season, it's going to really build and get way more intense. The second half is going to blow everyone away, from Michonne's exit to Alpha's gigantic horde attacking Alexandria to Maggie's return. The fun has just begun, so if you're new to the channel and you want to join this ride, just make sure to be a subscriber. I really enjoyed the hell out of this episode. It was a fun and well-crafted return to The Walking Dead. As far as premieres go, it probably wasn't one of the greatest of all time, but I don't think it really needs to be at this point. It was just really well done. When I say well crafted, I mean it was really well crafted in terms of setting up major storylines for this full season, and so that's what I really want to talk about. So before we jump in, I do have to warn you for spoilers for tonight's episode. Also spoilers for some moments in the comics, since I will be referencing some Easter eggs that did happen in tonight's episode. I will be posting a trailer breakdown for episode 2 as well after this, so just stay tuned for that. But finally, The Walking Dead is here after a long wait. I mean, we have our favorite show back. We made it through another long summer of no Walking Dead content. So there's a really gorgeous satellite sequence. I mean, that blew me away. I was wondering what Nicotero was referencing with the first few minutes being something that they've never done before. And though this is more like 20 seconds and a few minutes, it's still super crazy. The visuals of Earth, I mean, you could argue that Rick was in that episode. He was just very tiny, but he was somewhere down there. I want more stuff like this with The Walking Dead. I really do. I'm ready for this world to get bigger and weirder. It kind of already is with the third show and the Rick movies when you think about it. The CRM are definitely opening up this world, and Rick will be the first one to discover all of it. Our characters will eventually as well towards the end of this season, but Rick technically at this point, just based on the timeline, has already known about all of this because he's been gone for 6 years? What's he been doing in a community that is just this safe and well kept for the last 6 years? Like, that's the big question we all have right now. The satellite Eugene was taking parts from will play a big role this season and for season 11. That right there, that satellite is set up for season 11 and season 12 and the Rick movies. This is what I mean by the episode served as the perfect premiere. Premieres are supposed to be your introductions and setup to the season, and this episode did just that. Eugene is now scavenging that satellite. He will use the parts from that satellite and try to either create a different machine or a radio system that can reach out to farther communities or just modify the one that they have, which they really set up that he's going to be watching Rosita's baby, or at least help her a lot with the child. As he's doing that and screwing around with his radio, that's when he's going to discover the Commonwealth. How this happens in the comic book is he actually randomly hears a voice from a woman named Stephanie. We learn that this place is from Ohio over time, and eventually Eugene confesses what he knows to everyone, and a few characters travel out to Ohio to meet this group, where they discover the Commonwealth, a community of 50,000 people. The third show, in the trailer anyways, they hinted that their community has 9,671 people. So, though that is very massive, the Commonwealth obviously are 5 times as big. This happens after the Whisperer arc, so don't expect this to play out this season. That's going to be a season 11 thing. Could be connected to Maggie's return, who knows, but the fun this season will be Eugene hearing the voice and trying to make contact with this woman, who does end up being his girlfriend, so I like that this was added in the premiere. The satellite is the focus of the episode. The story is interwoven around it. I wasn't that big of a fan of the structure when I first watched it. I think for the first half of it. As it progresses, it does get more fun, but the first half it was more annoying because we kept cutting back to Aaron in that radio shot, but at a certain point, it does get more fun, like I said. I mentioned this in my non-spoiler review, but premieres are really the only episodes where you can do experiments like this. If this was an every episode thing, I would have a big issue with it, but it's a premiere, it's fine. We saw the Oceanside training sequence. It was much shorter than I was expecting, just based on all the photos released earlier this summer. It seemed like it was going to be a big part of the episode, but it was done really fast. Our characters are definitely ready for the Whisperers though. Maybe not that horde, but the Whisperers for sure, just based on those shields, like wow. Also, the general opening sequence was a bit different. Not much changed actually. They really just stuck with what they did in season 9, except they added a Rick Grimes final scene moment where the bridge blew up. It's a really iconic moment. It's a sad moment, sure, but I'm glad it was added. We got lots of Rick Grimes mentions tonight, actually, from Michonne while arguing with Aaron on the bridge. She says, "I lost Rick on the," and then she stops herself. She definitely is still dealing with a lot of stuff from there, even though she's gotten over it. I'm sure a lot of people who have lost people know that, right? I mean, there's that, like her husband's death 6 years prior, but she also witnessed the Whisperer Pikes, right? It makes sense that she would feel this way. I love that they're keeping him alive like this. Like Rick, they're keeping his presence alive on the show. I think it's very important for fans to feel like he's still there. It does get very heartbreaking though, because at one point, Judith is telling RJ the story of the brave man. Hopefully I can get through this without choking up, but Judith does say that the brave man saved his friends from walkers and blew up the bridge. He died and went to heaven. And then RJ says something like my dad or like my dad, or I can't remember exactly what he said there, but that whole scene there was probably the most heartbreaking scene, probably since Rick's death for sure. It's just a really hard scene to watch. Michonne's reaction, I think, says it all. Probably in my top 2 favorite scenes of this episode. They discover Walker's skin on the bridge, which creates so much paranoia. Well, it's gonna create paranoia anyways. And that question was raised tonight. Why would there be Walker skin or Whisperer skin on our side of the border? You know that's going to be scaring them a lot since Alpha did trick them last season by going undercover and luring 10 people away from the fair. So seeing Whisperer skin on your side of the border is going to trigger you a lot, right? This is what episode 3 and 4 are going to deal with, I think. We know those episodes just based off the synopsises that there's a lot of paranoia. It's very Alexandria focused. And a lot of that I think is going to start because of Aaron. We saw that from him tonight. He's sick of sitting back and living like this. Like he kind of understands what Michonne's trying to do. And they both do kind of come to an agreement. They both apologize to each other at some points. But I still think they believe in what they believe in, right? They both just really don't agree with how to handle the Whisperers. So Aaron doesn't seem to be listening to Michonne's leadership for that much longer. Norman Reedus has described this season as feeling very paranoid and claustrophobic, so I can see what he means with that. There was also some really fun Eugene and Rosita scenes. I'm really happy those characters are still around. Lydia and Negan, both outcasts, they actually get along quite well in tonight's episode, and I can see, just based off of tonight's scene, I can see Negan serving as her mentor, kind of. Daryl is that figure right now, I think, in her life. But Daryl's not really an outcast. He was, but he's not anymore. Negan is the outcast of Alexandria, and Negan knows exactly what Lydia is feeling and what she's going through. That's why when he says, watch your back, kid, I mean, he's not kidding. He knows exactly what's going to happen, which was a really fun part of the episode because Negan is wise. Negan, he had some really great moments tonight. He's teaching Gabriel how to lead, saying things like, don't tell people the truth, which seems really crazy, but you can see Negan's reasoning there. If you want to have your people down on lock, if you don't want to create this panic, you just don't tell them the truth. Boom. Solved. Gabriel obviously disagrees, but I mean, he may agree over time once all that paranoia starts, once there's more rioting within Alexandria and things start happening. And I think Lydia may agree all over time. Negan is going to become the voice of Alexandria to those that, well, I guess feel that their voice isn't being heard by the likes of Michonne and etc. This includes Brandon. He actually had some dialogue in tonight's episode. He's the guard that was watching over Negan. He's going to be playing an important role later this season, helping Negan escape Alexandria and joining the Whisperers, but we'll talk about that later on as we progress through the season. Sadiq is going really crazy right now. He's having all these visions. I guess he's suffering from PTSD or something like that. I mean, he literally saw them kill Henry and all that, right? So yeah, I loved all those flashback shots. It's nice to be able to fill in the blanks a little bit more. We also got to see Dante, and yeah, he's an asshole. We're like the gods in the apocalypse. It's hilarious, sure, because it's sort of true, but you don't say shit like that. Maggie's returning this season, and she actually ends up with him in the comic. So I don't know. I'm hoping it doesn't happen, at least right now, because I don't know what Maggie could even possibly see in him. Speaking of Maggie, there was a few references to her tonight, and it all makes sense now because she's returning later this season, probably the last 3 or 4 episodes. So mentioning her travels with Georgie and what she's been up to makes a lot more sense. She has been sending stuff for a while now, and now she hasn't been, so that probably hints that she's on her way back. Like she just hasn't been able to send stuff because she's dealing with something or is just traveling back, right? This season will likely overall, I think, span a month, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, but depending on how far Maggie went out, you know, that could explain where she is and how long it's taking her to get back. We got some really great Kelly and Connie scenes. Kelly is starting to go deaf now, which is sad, and I think that teases her death later this season. I don't know why, I have that feeling that the scene where she wasn't able to hear that person from Oceanside or whatever community that she was from, she was telling her like, watch out, and she couldn't hear that. I think that's going to play a role later on this season where she can't hear the whispers or something like that, and she just ends up dying. I don't know, just a theory of mine right now. Connie is just super great though. I love that character so much. It's funny because I've always wanted Daryl and Carol together ever since season 2 all those years ago. but Connie and Daryl would really work. You have to admit, they would actually work. Like, you sign with a Southern accent. I love that because you do kind of forget too, like Daryl is from the South. Speaking of relationships, Carol and Ezekiel are in a very, very weird place. They're more civil and mature with each other now, but it's just very, very awkward. I'm still wondering where Ezekiel's relationship with Michonne comes from because I was expecting a hint at that at tonight's episode, but we didn't get that. At least I didn't see anything. Maybe it's already happened. The characters never really had a chance to really be together, but I don't know. It doesn't seem like those characters are together right now, so how this scene fits in later is I'm really interested in. Carol and Daryl, I think, steal tonight's episode. I mean, they really do. They had the bulk or the most prominent role anyways in tonight's episode. We got a really bad CGI deer scene, which is hilarious. I think at this point, it's on purpose, to be honest. It has to be, because how can they still be doing that right now? Carol is actually trying to kill this deer, but Daryl doesn't let her, and actually, I think they do kill the deer, but they're trying to go grab it, but it's on the Whisperer side. It's on the other side of the border. Carol gets really pissed off because Daryl's like, no, don't go over there because we're going to be breaking a rule. And that's what I really liked about tonight's episode is that it definitely set up everything really well. You understand the boundaries. You know exactly where that line is. That's why I say it's appropriately titled Lines We Cross. I think it worked out really, really well. Everything tied together at the very end with that epic fire scene. They were all trying to put out the fire. They were literally out there all night trying to put out this fire, and I'm pretty sure that was in the Whisperer side, so we know that meeting that happens later on is going to be about all of this. Why were you on that side? I mean, a lot of people broke a lot of rules. People have actually crossed the border. They also found Whisperer skin on their side of the border, so yeah, how do they deal with that? I really love that scene though, when Carol used blood from that walker to put out a fire. That was just badass. And then we got the very final scene with Carol and Alpha, and I mean, yeah, you see that a scene like that, and I think the episode builds to this moment really well because you really see it throughout the episode. You see how our characters feel about Alpha and the whole dilemma. Some people aren't that okay with it, but they're willing to live with it. And then you have someone like Carol who is she just wants to kill Alpha so bad. Like at this point, she can't even live anymore. She's on that boat. She's been there for the last few months or a month or two at least, and she doesn't want to return. She just wants to sail away. She doesn't want to be around here anymore. Which, by the way, that was a nod to Michonne's arc in the comic when she came back during A New Beginning. It happened much earlier. Like that would have happened early on in season 9, but Michonne does return. Ezekiel is there waiting for Michonne to return. So they kind of did the same thing here, though obviously a very different context. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to episode 2. Episode 2 is supposed to be about the Whisperers, and it's going to serve as a backstory. I haven't watched the trailer yet, so I can't really post a reaction and do a sort of a prediction, but I know it's going to be about the Whisperers. We're going to get some sort of beta and alpha backstory, why the relationship works. And then episode 3 will continue from where we left off after tonight's episode. You can see how they interspersed Danai Gurira's appearances. She might be in like 6 episodes in total this season, which means she might be in episode 3. Maybe in 5, maybe the mid-season finale in 7, and then maybe in 12, like 9, 10, 12 or something like that. However that's going to work. She could be in like 7 or 8, but you can see how they stretched it out. I don't think it's going to feel like she's gone, because even in season 9, she wasn't in every episode. So yeah, but post your thoughts down below. Let me know what you guys thought of tonight's episode. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video. Make sure to be a subscriber if you want more Walking Dead content like this, and thanks for watching.